If somebody could please put that in the comment section. We are in the New Testament book of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 28 through 32. Matthew, chapter 14, verses 28 through 32. We're working from the King James Version of Scripture, so it may read a little differently than yours. The text reads this way. Verse 28, and Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on water to go to Jesus. Verse 30, but when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Verse 32. And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. The word of God for the people of God, and the people of God said, Amen. We'd like to use as a subject, anchored by the truth. Anchored by the truth. So, in context, last week we talked about this idea of feeding approximately 5,000 people with a simple fish and bread snack. We talked about how the Lord simply encouraged them to put everything they had in his hands. And he's talking specifically to the disciples. Put everything that you have in my hand. As a matter of fact, the people that I've decided I have assigned you, to minister to, give them to me also. And then just sort of watch what it is that I'm about to do. So in that, directly after that happens, not only were there 5,000 men that were fed, but there were also women and children as well. So everyone who was there, they all got fed. And immediately after that, Jesus sends the people away. He sends he sends all the folk away, and he sends the disciples away. He tells them to get on a ship and leave. And then he himself, Christ, he dispersed the crowd. After this happens, while the brethren were on a boat, a storm came while they were sailing. Now, I don't believe in this part of it, that the storm was really that unnerving just yet, especially to people who would travel on a regular basis on the water. It's just one of those things that come along with this is how we travel. And so we understand every now and then we might have to travel on some troubled water. Now, the issue with this is, are you currently having to travel on some troubled waters? Are you moving in whatever direction God has called you to move in, and you're having to sort of travel on some troubled waters? I'm asking this question because there might be at least one or two people. You are moving in the right direction, but somebody might be trying to convince you that it's the wrong direction because the direction is not smooth. The direction is not always as peaceful as you would like for it to be. There's some storms, there's some turbulent waters. I'm just curious about the fact that whether or not you're moving, somebody might be trying to encourage you to do something else, because why would God have you traveling in a storm? Why would God tell you to move forward in a storm? Now, I'm asking this question on purpose. Please hold on to that thought, because we're gonna get into that in just a moment. I'm just trying to encourage everybody on the front end of this. Just because there's a bump or two in the journey, that does not mean that you're on the wrong path. Just because there is some turbulent water, does it make sense to drive into a hurricane? Does it make sense to sail into a tornado? I don't know your assignment. What I do know is whatever is happening in your life, you can be anchored by the truth. You can always be anchored by the truth. And here's what I'm driving at. Whatever God said on the front end, because that's really the basis of this whole thing. Whatever God said on the front end, if it was true when he said it, it'll be true on your way there. If he told you on the front end, because the truth is God knows, and you know as well, that life is filled with swift transition. You know doggone well that you have sunshine at 90 and it's liable to be snowing at 12:30. You know that life can be great on the front end of the day, but by the time you get past lunch, I'm talking about around 3:30 or so in the afternoon, everything has fallen apart. It does not mean that you're on the wrong path. It doesn't have to mean that. It could mean that what he said on the front end, it could mean that it is just true. Because there's a difference between life being life and the enemy being the enemy. Every uncomfortable moment in our lives does not have to be credited to Satan himself. It just means that life can just be this way. Now, I'm rambling a little bit. Please give me some grace, and I'll give it some structure in just a second. Don't worry, it won't add too much time to what it is that we're doing. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. So, Jesus tells the disciples to go, and they're on the water, and a storm comes. Now, while the storm is going on, they see something in the water. They see something literally standing on the water. Now, the assumption is, because I don't know what it was like to be on a boat, particularly an old school boat, in the rain. Some of you have yachts, and some of you have boats to where you have rooms and windows and all that kind of stuff with some windshield wipers, that kind of thing. But imagine standing outside. It's raining, and so rain has a tendency to affect our vision. It has a tendency to be able to affect how we can see anything at all. So imagine there's rain, and you're rubbing your eyes, and you're trying to get the water out of your eyes, and then you see something in the water standing there. It looks like a person, but that doesn't make any sense. Nobody's walked on water before. So why is that there? Maybe we're just high. Maybe we just lost our mind. Maybe we're seeing a spirit. What is this? They were afraid of whatever it was that was standing in the water. Now, I bring this up because it's possible that God is wanting to show you some other things. He's wanting to show you an even greater dimension of who he is. Every time God puts us in a situation to where we're going to get to know him even better, that is a privileged position to be in. Please understand, every time God allows us to see him in a greater way, see him do something even further than what we saw the last time. So he has proven, Christ has proven that he can feed a whole bunch of people with a small snack. He has proven that all it requires is to put something in his hands and he can do whatever needs to be done. But now he's about to show everybody, including me and you, something else that he can do. So he's on the water. They begin to cry out and they say, "Is this a spirit? What in the world is this?" And so Jesus says to them, "Don't be afraid, it's me. It's me." Now, I don't know how far he was from them. And I don't know at what point the wind, all of that. I don't know I don't know the answer to all of that stuff. What I do know is Jesus was there. And he tells them to don't be afraid. He says, "It is I. Now, there are three things I would like for us to consider. And I would like for us to consider prayer while we're talking about this. Just have it on your mind, prayer. If somebody can put that in the comment section, just one word, prayer. Just put that in the comment section. The three things I would like for us to consider is the opportunity, the view, and the rescue. The opportunity, the view, and the rescue. Just have prayer on your mind while we're talking through this. Verse 28 says, and Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. Now, Peter asked, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you. Tell me to come closer to you. Now, he's praying because he's talking to the Lord. And he has asked the Lord, tell me to come to you. Peter knows there's a storm. He knows he's already in one. Peter knows that he's not supposed to be able to walk on water. But he didn't bring up the water. He brought up, Lord, if it is you, tell me to come closer to you. Too many times, the minor issues get in the way of the major ones. What I mean is, he did not mention water. He did not ask to be able to walk on water. What he asked for was to be closer to the Lord. Now, I ask this question because, I bring this up, I apologize. I bring this up because when we ask the Lord for things, when we make a request, have we taken the time to really understand what it is that we're asking him for? Peter knows they're in a boat. Jesus is out there standing on the water. I don't know why. I don't know why Peter didn't say, Lord, if it's you, get out of the water and come get on the boat with us. I don't know why he didn't say that. What he said was, bid me to come to you. I'm talking about the opportunity. Verse 29 says, and he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. What opportunities are we prepared for when we're dealing with the Lord? What is it that we actually want? Peter was not asking to walk on water. He just wanted to get to the Lord. Now, all of this is important. All this is important because there's a lot of people who want to be water walkers. Let me be very clear. I don't care nothing about walking on water. What I do care about is getting closer to God himself. There's a lot of people who want to do what is considered to be supernatural. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want whatever path is going to get me to the Lord. I'm talking about the opportunity. What opportunities has God given you? All of this is on purpose. All of this is on purpose. We're bringing all of this up on purpose because what opportunities has God presented to you based on your longing to be with him? He already knows there's a storm. He already knows it requires him to do something to get to the Lord. He already knows this. You yourself already know that there are some troubled times around you. Yet you still are wanting to get closer to God himself. That is a beautiful thing. Please understand, in that process, God is going to have you in some extraordinary situations. God is going to have you in some situations to where you're not going to believe what just happened. All you wanted was to get to him. So maybe, just maybe, some of us are focused on the externals rather than just getting to Jesus. In other words, some people still want to say, Lord, I want to be a water walker. So some people say, oh, Lord, I want to be extraordinary myself. But when my focus is on the extraordinary rather than just getting to the Lord, it might be much more difficult to get that other stuff done. Because if perhaps I'm able to accomplish anything else without getting to the Lord, I might decide that I'm as bad as I think I am. I just might decide that I'm as fly as I believe I am. The problem with all of this, problem with all of this is Peter just wanted to get to Jesus. So what do you want? What is it that you want? Peter, Peter asked the Lord, if it's you, bid me to come to you. Jesus said, come on. So Peter began to walk on the water. He got off. He got out of the boat. I don't know how tall it was, or if he just climbed over. I'm not sure. But he began to step on the water, and he has his eyes on the Lord. Now, we go from the opportunity to the view. Please check your view. What do I mean by that? Verse 30 says, but when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. I'm talking about being anchored in the truth. Now, when Peter was in the boat, he already knew there was a storm. When Peter and the rest of the brethren saw Jesus, they already knew they were looking at him while there was a storm going on. So the vision was already distorted from the beginning because of the wind and the turbulent water. But because of the truth, see, when the truth is speaking, I can be anchored in it because now, see, I don't even know what time of day. What I'm driving at is, I don't know if the sun was up. I don't know if it was setting. I don't know if it's the middle of the night. What I do know is vision had been impaired, but because the truth has spoken, the truth is who said, come to me, come on out here. He was able to understand, it is you and I'm on my way. The problem is when he saw that the wind was boisterous. That's just a very poetic way of saying the wind was tripping. It was real high. It was blowing all over the place. And when the wind was blowing, it was messing with the water. It was loud. There was a lot of distractions. There was a lot of things going on around him. And it began to mess with his vision because it became a distraction. Please put in the comment section, somebody, no more distractions. No more distractions. He was just fine. He was just fine until he got to looking around. He was just fine until the externals began to mess with his attention. And when his attention was messed with, it began to mess with his vision. He was able to walk on water because he was anchored by the truth. The problem is he began to turn his mind off of the truth. He began to think that some things around him were a little more serious. There comes a time in my life where I have to cut everything else off. I have to tune everything else out, and I have to go straight to where God said go. It doesn't matter how loud the wind is. It doesn't matter how tough the rain is. It does not matter of the turbulence that's going on around me. I must be anchored in the truth. Some people have not gotten where God has wanted them to be yet because they keep allowing the things around them to mess with their vision. Please don't do that any longer. And at the end of the day, if you don't do what God is wanting you to do, please don't blame him when you haven't gotten there. Because Jesus stood right where he was. Peter is the one that was coming to him. I don't want our mission to be aborted because of distraction. I don't want your future to be put on pause or stunted or even forfeited because of distractions. Your life has a lot of noise around it, and it might be messing with your vision. I'm talking about being anchored in the truth. What did God tell you on the front end of this whole thing? What did he say? Did he tell you that it would be easy? If he didn't, then don't let the wind bother you. Did he tell you that it will always be quiet and it will always be comfortable? If he did not say that, then don't let that distract you. Just keep moving forward. Did God say to you, you are going to have sunshine every day of your life because you are now rolling with me? If he did not say these things, then don't let the storms bother you. Don't let anything distract you from where God is wanting you to be. Don't let anything mess with your vision. Don't let it mess with your vision. So he began to see how boisterous. Now, I've never seen wind. I've seen the result of wind passing through. In other words, I've seen dust clouds. I've seen things be knocked over. I have seen it mess with water. I've seen what wind can do. So he saw what was happening. He saw some destruction. He saw some unrest. He saw some what looked to be destructive, and he became afraid, and he began to sink. Now, I want to say just one more thing about this, and we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. Um, he began to sink after he began watching the wind versus Jesus. Now, it is possible to be on the wrong path and be focused on the wrong thing. It is very possible to be going in the right direction, but have the wrong thing on your mind. It's entirely possible. What is the lesson in this moment? Well, while you are walking and while you are dealing with whatever you're dealing with, what was the truth when you started the journey? Some people will say, well, Lord, I didn't sign up for this storm. Well, wasn't it raining when you told God yes? Wasn't it already raining? Didn't you already have to deal with some weather? When you told God that I want to be close to you, was not the reason that you said, God, I want to be close to you? Wasn't the reason that you said it in the first place? Is because you wanted to get closer to him in order to fix some things that's going on in your life? Did you wait for a sunny day to tell God, I want to come to you? Did you wait? Did you wait for a day with beautiful weather like yesterday to tell God, bid me to come to you? It was already raining. There was already a storm. There was already something going on. So please understand, do not take the storm that was already existing to be the reason that you get distracted from God, a place where you wanted to be in the first place. Check your vision. Please check your vision. If you feel that you are sinking, check your vision. If you feel that the ground beneath you is starting to become unstable and you are sinking, check your vision. If life is just not going the way that it ought to for a person who is completely focused on God, just check your vision. Stop looking around and look forward. Stop looking backwards and look forward. Stop looking down and just look forward. Whatever direction Christ is in, whatever direction God is in, point your life in that direction. Put your eyes squarely on that direction and move in that direction. All right, last thing. The rescue. The rescue. Not only will the truth get us started, not only will the truth anchor us, but the truth will also rescue us. Bible says in verse 31, and immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him. Ain't that something? Now, I don't know how far he was from him. As a matter of fact, sidebar, I'm going to come right back to this. Sidebar, the Bible says that Jesus saw him and he stretched forth his hand. How close was it? Is it possible that some people have begun looking around at the wrong stuff, not even realizing how close you have gotten to your goal? Because a lot of times it appears, and the way this thing is communicated, the visual is there was still quite a bit of distance. So I don't know if Jesus stretched his arm like Stretch Armstrong. I don't know if he did that. I don't know if Peter had gotten really close to him. Please do not get distracted because you have no idea how close you absolutely are. But anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou believe? Verse 32, just because it feels good. And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Not only can you be anchored in the truth, but the truth will be the thing that rescues you when life gets too crazy. The truth will be the thing that rescues you when you have decided to take your focus off of the truth and put your focus on the noise or the chaos that is around us. I know I'm asking a lot in this moment, but I am saying you can still be rescued if you are sinking. I know I'm asking a lot to take your mind off of the wind and all of the stuff around you, and even to the point to where you are sinking. I know I'm asking a lot that you don't be afraid. You just readjust your focus. I know what's happening because it's on your mind. Lord, I'm out here now and I'm going to drown. Not only is the wind gonna move me in all kinds of directions, but I'm out here in the water and I'm going to drown. Before this journey happened, the water didn't matter. Peter did not say, make me a water walker. What he said was, bring me to you. Tell me to come out there to you if it is in fact you. That's what happened. Please don't, if the fact that it was water didn't bother you in the first place, don't let it bother you when you get into it. Because storms look one way when we are in the boat. Storms look a certain way when I'm in the house with the windows. Storms look a particular way when I'm traveling the way that I would normally travel. But mess around and get into the water, the storm looks drastically different. Mess around and get into it, and then we have a different proposition. What I'm saying is, just like with Peter, while he was sinking, the Lord stretched out his hands and rescued him. Well, is it possible that the Lord has stretched out his hands for you as well? Because for whatever reason you have gotten distracted. I am not fussing and I'm not jumping on anybody who has found themselves distracted by some stuff. All I'm saying is, whatever chapter your life is in, it doesn't have to end that way. You can be sinking and the truth can rescue you. That's all I'm saying. You can be in the middle of a storm that has gotten your full attention. It is interesting how storms, just like people, are very center of attention type folk. What I'm saying is, it's loud. It is obnoxious. It sounds dangerous. It wants your full focus. And all I'm saying is, if we're going to fix the problem, if we're going to get out of the mess that we are in, if we're going to deal with the fear, he did two things that made sense. He began to cry out to the Lord to help me. That might be the first thing that we need to do. There are some people who are still trying to fix it. Somebody get me a life preserver. Somebody go in boat. Brothers who are in the boat, bring the boat over here. Bring me a rope. Maybe the first step is to stop relying on folk. Stop being afraid of the storm and cry out to the Lord, save me. Maybe that's the first step. Lord, I need you. I'm concerned about them too, but I need you. Right now it's me. It's possible that I need to pull on the anchor, which is the truth, which is Jesus himself. Last thing. Jesus, he got him up, and when he put him back in the boat, when they got back in the boat, the wind stopped. The wind was blowing, and it was really, really, really enthusiastic. He gets out of the boat. He begins to hear it a little differently, and he began to sink. Jesus rescues him, and he asks him, "Ye of little faith, where did you doubt? Wherefore did you doubt? What part of it? Why did you doubt me now? Why did you wait? What could have happened in the storm that had you get so close to me, and then you begin to doubt? Then you lose your focus. Then you become afraid." What I'm driving at is this. It is possible that the closer you have gotten to where God wants you to be, it's possible that some things have gotten louder in your life. Some calamities might have gotten louder. They just seem more pronounced and magnified in this season. But don't allow that to cause you to lose focus anymore because you're too close. You're entirely too close to let any of that bother you. Last thing, and I'm done. So, what are you asking the Lord for? And what are you willing to walk through to get to? What is it that you've asked Him? If you want to be closer to the Lord, then just get closer to the Lord. Because what's going to happen is this: getting closer to the Lord, it requires us to leave some fear behind. It causes us to have to leave some limitations that we put on God behind. It has caused us to have to put some or leave some limitations that we've had on ourselves behind. Now that you're in the water, and now that you're on your way to the Lord, and now that you have gotten so close, please don't allow the wind to huff and puff and blow your life in a direction that it shouldn't be in. You started this journey with the Lord, end it with the Lord. And no matter what the storms are, you can be anchored in the truth. That's all we have for this morning. Everybody stand, please. This is our second favorite moment in the worship experience.